The silent blade paradox. What if I told you that the most terrifying consistency comes not from brute force, but from the disciplined silence of those who understand that the true battle takes place not on the physical field, but within their own minds? Prepare to discover the ancient secret that transformed an African foreigner into one of the most feared samurai in feudal Japan, not because of the violence of his conquests, but because of the unwavering constancy of his presence. We're not talking about fleeting motivation, superficial routines, or productivity tricks that promise change in 7 days. This isn't about willpower, forced discipline, or those self-help techniques you've tried dozens of times and that always abandon you on the third day. What I'm about to reveal transcends any modern method because it comes from a tradition that understands that true consistency is a spiritual art form, a dance between the flexibility of bamboo and the solidity of a mountain. Yasuke, the first non-Japanese samurai in history, carried within himself a mystery that Oda Nobunaga immediately recognized: the ability to maintain presence and loyalty even when everything around him was crumbling. This knowledge, fragmented over the centuries among Zen monasteries, imperial courts, and schools of military strategy, reveals that the consistency that frightens is not the one that shouts its discipline to the world, but the one that flows like water through stone, shaping entire landscapes without a sound. Right now, you're about to discover not only how Yasuke achieved the impossible, but also how the ancient masters understood that true consistency arises when we stop fighting our own nature and start building systems that make discipline inevitable. Take a deep breath, because what you're about to learn could forever transform the way you relate to your own commitments. Axiom Sage, where ancient wisdom meets modern transformation. How to become so consistent it scares people. The invisible prison of willpower. There's a silent lie our modern culture has sold us, and perhaps you've fallen for it more times than you'd like to admit. It's the belief that consistency depends on motivation, on waking up every day feeling like you want to achieve your goals, on keeping that inner fire burning like a tireless productivity machine. Modern neuroscience shows us something devastating. Dopamine, the neurotransmitter that gives us bursts of energy and enthusiasm, is designed to be scarce, not constant. You know that pain, don't you? The feeling of starting January with all the promises in the world, feeling that this time will be different, that you've finally developed the right mindset. And then 4, 5, maybe 10 days later, when the novelty wears off and real life knocks on the door with its relentless demands, you find yourself back in the same cycle. Procrastination, guilt, another empty promise that tomorrow will be different. The truth no one tells you is that those who wait until they feel ready never escape stagnation. Yasuke didn't choose to serve Oda Nobunaga because he woke up one day motivated to be a samurai. He understood something Zen masters have known for millennia. Consistency isn't a feeling, it's a system. It's the construction of rituals so automated that they eliminate the need for daily choices. The ancient Japanese masters had a word for this: ka. Forms repeated until they become second nature. It wasn't about willpower. It was about creating an invisible armor of habits that worked regardless of mood, motivation, or external circumstances. When you understand that mental energy is finite, you stop wasting it on micro-decisions and start channeling it toward what truly matters. The ancestral guardians of inevitable discipline. In the Zen monasteries of the 13th century, Dogen Zenji taught his disciples something that defied all human logic. Practice is enlightenment. Don't practice to become enlightened, but understand that practice itself is already enlightenment manifested. It was a quiet revolution in the concept of discipline, transforming the means into the end, making the process sacred in itself, independent of the results. Meanwhile, in the courts of the warlords, masters like those who influenced Yasuke understood that true strength lay not in the ability to win battles, but in the ability to remain present and loyal even when defeat seemed inevitable. Alan Watts, centuries later, would translate this wisdom to the West. The rigid perish, the flexible survive. Consistency is not unbreakable rigidity, it is constant adaptability. Gurdjieff, the Armenian mystic who drew from Eastern sources, revealed another crucial aspect. Most people live in a waking sleep, reacting automatically to external stimuli without ever truly awakening to their own choices. To be consistent, for him, meant awakening from this collective hypnosis and beginning to act from a stable inner center, not from the emotional fluctuations of the moment. These weren't just abstract philosophers spouting ethereal concepts. They were men who understood something fundamental about human nature. We are not designed to rely on motivation. We are designed to function through patterns and systems. The samurai doesn't go into battle because he feels brave that day. He goes because he has built an identity so solid that not going would be a violation of his very essence. If you're starting to feel like there's a crucial piece missing from your approach to discipline, sign up for Axiom Sage and ring the bell to discover all the secrets ancient masters used to build unshakable consistency. The foreigner who rewrote the rules. Kenji had always been the type of person who started projects with enthusiasm and abandoned them at the first sign of difficulty. New jobs, fitness classes, online courses, relationships, everything started with great promise and ended with the same sense of failure and self-pity. He tried productivity apps, time management techniques, support groups, and nothing seemed to create the lasting transformation he so desperately desired. It was when Kenji discovered Yasuke's story that something began to stir within him. It wasn't a superficial inspiration, but a profound recognition. If an African man could fully adapt to samurai culture and become respected for his unwavering consistency, perhaps the problem wasn't a lack of ability, but a lack of proper systems. Yasuke didn't arrive in Japan knowing how to be a samurai. He arrived as a foreigner, different in every way: skin color, language, customs, beliefs. But something about his way of adapting and compromising caught Oda Nobunaga's attention. It wasn't extraordinary physical strength or superior military skill. It was a more subtle and powerful quality: the ability to transform oneself through conscious repetition, to fully embrace a new system of values and behaviors. Kenji realized his approach was completely wrong. He was trying to force drastic changes, expecting immediate results, as if personal transformation were a quick military conquest. Yasuke showed him a different approach: transformation through systematic adaptation, one small victory at a time, building a new identity through the repetition of actions aligned with who he wanted to become. The 7 pillars of unwavering consistency. The first pillar emerges from radical self-knowledge. Yasuke had to deeply understand not only where he was, but who he needed to become. It wasn't about denying his origins, but about integrating his unique essence within a new value system. Kenji realized that his previous failures stemmed from trying to imitate others without understanding his own motivations, fears, and self-sabotaging patterns. The discipline of attention constitutes the second pillar. Zen masters taught that the human mind is like a wild monkey, jumping from branch to branch without ever settling anywhere. Yasuke learned to train his attention like an archer trains his aim, not through brute force, but through repeated practice and gentle redirection. Kenji began to realize how his mind constantly sabotaged him with distractions and excuses. Emotional control forms the third pillar, but not in the way most people imagine. It's not about suppressing feelings, but about understanding that you are not your emotions. You are the one observing them. When Yasuke felt fear before a battle, he neither denied it nor completely identified with it. He acknowledged the emotion, honored it, and then chose to act according to his values, not his momentary feelings. Rituals and consistency make up the fourth pillar. Every samurai had non-negotiable morning rituals, no matter if it was raining, if they'd slept poorly, or if they were motivated or not. Kenji understood he needed to create micro-rituals so small they were impossible to fail, yet so consistent they began to shape his identity. A page read, a conscious breath, a mindful glass of water upon waking. The fifth pillar reveals alignment with something greater than the individual ego. For Yasuke, it was loyalty to his lord and the principles of Bushido. For Kenji, it was discovering that consistency isn't about personal discipline, but about serving something greater than one's momentary emotional fluctuations. When you align with a transcendent purpose, discipline ceases to be willpower and becomes devotion. The union of wisdom and action constitutes the sixth pillar. Yasuke didn't just study the samurai codes theoretically, he incorporated them through daily practice. Kenji realized he had spent years consuming content on productivity and personal development without ever truly implementing them consistently. Transformation happens through application, not through the accumulation of information. The seventh and final pillar is the transcendence of the ego through the recognition of unity. Yasuke understood that his strength came not from asserting his individuality against the system, but from integrating himself so completely that he became a unique expression of the universal values of the warrior's way. Kenji discovered that true consistency arises when you stop fighting your nature and begin to work with it. If you recognize these pillars working in your own transformation journey, leave a comment with "Pillars Activated" and subscribe to the channel to continue building your unshakable consistency alongside our community of conscious seekers. The ritual of the little unbreakable oath. Now you will directly experience what Yasuke intuitively understood. Close your eyes for a moment and bring your hands to heart level. Feel the weight of your palms, the temperature of your skin, the subtle energy circulating between your fingers. This is your physical anchor for what is about to emerge within you. Choose one action right now so small that it's literally impossible to fail. I'm not talking about reading a book a day or meditating for an hour. I'm talking about something that can be accomplished in less than 2 minutes. Something you can do even on your worst days. A conscious breath upon waking. A sip of water with full presence. A single sentence of gratitude written in a notebook. Feel the weight of this commitment in your hands. It's not about the size of the action. It's about the quality of the decision. Gurdjieff taught that when we make a conscious commitment, we create extra energy that sustains us in moments of resistance. Yasuke didn't become a samurai through grand heroic gestures, but through the daily repetition of small acts of integrity. Now, mentally make this pledge. I, regardless of my mood, motivation, or external circumstances, will complete this action every day for the next 7 days. Not because I have to prove anything to the world, but because I am choosing to build a version of myself that delivers on its promises. When you open your eyes, something fundamental will have changed. You're no longer someone trying to be consistent. You're someone who's just made a conscious choice toward personal integrity. Neuroscience shows us that every small victory deposits evidence into our identity bank. You literally become what you repeatedly practice. The secret alchemy of systematic transformation. What you've just experienced is just the first movement of a much more complex symphony. Yasuke discovered something Eastern alchemist masters have known for millennia. True transformation doesn't happen through brute force, but through the consistent application of gentle pressure. Like water shaping rocks, not through violence, but through infinite persistence. Each day you fulfill your small, unbreakable vow. You're not just building a habit. You're rewriting the fundamental narrative of who you are. The subconscious mind doesn't distinguish between large and small actions when it comes to identity formation. It only registers consistency or inconsistency. Are you someone who keeps promises, or someone who makes empty promises to yourself? Dogen Zenji, the great Zen master, taught that each moment of mindful practice is complete in itself. You don't meditate to become more Zen. You are already the perfect expression of Zen when you are fully present in your practice. Likewise, you are not consistent to achieve a future goal. You are consistent because you have chosen to become the kind of person who honors their commitments to themselves. But there's an even deeper layer to this alchemy. Alan Watts revealed that when we stop resisting who we are and begin to work with our nature instead of against it, discipline ceases to be a struggle and becomes a flow. Yasuke didn't become a samurai by denying his African origins. He became a samurai by integrating his unique essence into the universal principles of the warrior's way. Magic happens when you realize you're not forcing yourself to be someone you're not. You're removing the layers of conditioning that prevent you from being who you truly are. Scary consistency isn't born from rigidity, but from conscious flexibility, the ability to adapt to circumstances while maintaining your core values. The final revelation. You've always been the samurai. There's a final secret Yasuke carried, and I can now share it with you. The transformation you seek isn't about becoming someone different. It's about recognizing and expressing who you've always been beneath all the layers of conditioning, fear, and self-sabotage. The power of terrifying consistency already exists within you, just waiting for you to stop fighting your own nature and start honoring it through aligned action. Yasuke didn't need to stop being African to become a samurai. He needed to integrate all parts of himself in service to something greater than his individual ego. Likewise, you don't need to become a completely different person to develop unshakable consistency. You need to align your actions with your deepest values and build systems that make that expression inevitable. The truth no one tells you about discipline is that it's not a prison, it's a liberation. When you stop wasting mental energy on daily micro-decisions about whether or not you'll follow through on your commitments, you unleash immense creative power to focus on what truly matters. Consistency doesn't limit you. It frees you to become who you truly are. Oda Nobunaga recognized in Yasuke not just a warrior, but someone who understood that true strength comes from a union of flexibility and firmness, of adaptation and integrity. You don't need to frighten the world with your discipline to prove your worth. When you live in authentic alignment with your values, the world is naturally impressed by your steady presence. If you felt something stir within you during this video, if you recognize that you carry within you the same silent strength that transformed a foreigner into the most respected of samurai, comment below, "I choose consistency," and share your little unbreakable vow. Subscribe to Axiom Sage and turn on notifications to continue discovering the ancient secrets that can transform your modern life. The mountain doesn't shout its solidity to the world, but everyone recognizes its unshakable presence. You are already the mountain. Now it's time to stop pretending you're just a rock rolling in the wind.